At the beginning of the year, I had this great idea that I was going to try to do at least 15 minutes of a hobby every single day. It sounded like a great goal. I wanted to get back to myself by doing things that I love doing and intentionally add it into my other priorities like family and work. I'm realizing this week I don't think it's possible. Real life is hard, and I think I'm going to have to take a fail, reevaluate, and try again. So for the next 5 days, I'm going to see if I can actually stick to it and track if I can do 15 minutes a day. If you're new here, hi, I'm Allison. I try new hobbies, mess up, and figure things out as I go. And we're going to start on Friday. This is Friday. I had finished work and had 30 minutes before I needed to pick my kids up from school. We had gotten our trees trimmed earlier in the week, and I asked them to dump the wood chips in our driveway so I could make some garden beds around our trees. The previous owners had grass going up to the trunks, and that's not very healthy for the trees. We have a mature oak and cypress in our front yard, and I want them to outlive me, so I'm going to do everything I can to help them be healthy. It was a lucky break in timing and weather that I could even do this for 30 minutes, but you can see I only got a couple of loads in before I had to stop. Later, we did convince our kids that it would be fun to help, but I think we got 2 loads in before it turned into playtime, which is fine. I do want our neighbors to know that we are trying to distribute this wood chip pile. I know it's a bit of an eyesore right in the driveway. The next day it rained and the day after it snowed, so now it's frozen solid. So I'll have to wait for another day. It's not for lack of trying. Hopefully the weather warms up and it thaws out. For the next few days, I'm going to have to try other hobbies. I'm getting some gas and a little snack from the gas station because today I'm going to a sewing class at Stitchworks in downtown Indy. It is a level 1, like intro, here's what sewing machines are like, but you have to take skill 1 to be able to take their other classes, which is what I'm interested in. And I'm going to be learning on an industrial machine. I've never used one before, and hopefully an industrial serger. I'm a little nervous because I haven't taken a class in a while, and meeting new people always makes me a little bit nervous. Also, I hate parking, especially in a downtown area, and Indy is no better. And I didn't leave myself enough time to park. I usually like to leave myself a lot of time to go park, but today I didn't. So I'm a little nervous for that, but here we go. I'll film what I can, but I'm very nervous with filming around other people, so I might just take a few pictures and talk to you guys after. I went to the Stitchworks class, and it's in a really cool location. It's in the old Stutz building. Actually, I think it's in Stutz 2, but it's on the north side of downtown, and it's a converted factory. It's a really interesting location. They have a bunch of industrial machines. They have some big cutting tables and some pressing stations, and it was really a really cool place to meet other people. I took a few pictures, but I was too nervous to film. The class was definitely skill 1, learning to sew type class. I knew what I was getting into, so that's no fault of the teacher or the studio or anything like that. They kind of just want to make sure that you know what you're getting into before you go into more advanced classes. So if you want to learn to sew, I definitely recommend it. They taught us on an industrial machine. So we learned how to thread the machine, we learned how to wind a bobbin and thread the bobbin, and then we started on a few exercises that I wanted to share with you. This is the first one. It's kind of coming out because it's on paper, but we did some straight lines on paper and also learned how to backstitch with it and got the feeling for a few backstitches versus 1 or 2. And then we did straight lines with a pivot. You can see my lines I kind of overshot in a couple of cases, but I didn't decrease my stitch length. This was learning how to put the presser foot up with your knee. Instead of most home machines, you would put it up with a little lever in the back. And then we moved on to kind of diagonal lines where you'd pivot at the corners, and wavy lines where it's a continuous curve and you don't have a seam allowance to guide against. Then we were able to start on fabric. So they gave us some scrap fabric, and I did a straight line with some back stitches, a wavy line again, and then I started folding the fabric a few times to make sure that I could feel what it felt like to use a couple pieces of fabric. After that, we moved on to fabric. So we sewed together 2 pieces of fabric. This was with a 3/8 seam allowance, and we pressed it to the side. Then we did 1/2 inch seam allowance, pressed open. You're kind of getting a feeling of what the machine feels like at different seam allowances. Here's pressed open and top stitched on either side. Then we moved on to curves, and so this is a 1/4 inch seam allowance and then pressed into the curve. Next we got to use the industrial sergers. I do have a serger at home, so it was not that new to me, but it was interesting to learn on an industrial serger. It has a different method to put the presser foot up or down. It's just a pedal instead of a knee lift. And the serger that I had was threaded with some really vibrant rainbow colors. So this one is just the fabric serged together and pressed to the side. And this one is finished, so each side of the fabric was serged and then sewn together on the regular industrial machine and then pressed open, so you can kind of see the colors there. They're really vibrant, pretty. And that was it. That was the end of the class. We just sat and chatted about what other classes they had available, some other advanced classes I was hoping for, and we'll see if they add them to the class list. The space was really cool, and I definitely want to go back for some more advanced classes. So I don't need the studio space. It's really just to connect with other people and be in the community, and that part of it was really fun, and I loved meeting all the other students. They were such a joy to chat to at lunchtime, and we went over to Amelia's, which is the coffee shop there, and got some pastries for lunch. And yeah, I'd never been down there, so it was just fun to hang out and meet other people who were interested in sewing. I did also want to say that on Sunday, I was at my family's house for a family birthday party, so I didn't film anything, but I did read about 50 pages of The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna, and that book seems like it's going to be very sad. I'm a little worried about how sad it's going to be. It's written really beautifully, so I'm going to keep reading it, but I might need another book to maybe pick me up a little bit. So we'll see. On to Monday. This has kind of become my default way of reading lately, just fitting it in wherever I can. Most days it looks like this, just sitting down for a few minutes during lunch or right before bed. It's definitely not how I used to read, where I could sit and read for hours, but right now that's just not my life. For a while that made me not want to read. If I couldn't do it the ideal way, then I wouldn't do it at all, but I definitely feel differently now. Even a few pages here and there still adds up. More than that, it gives me a reason to slow down. I think I'm learning that hobbies don't have to look perfect to still be part of your life. It is my lunch break right now, and if I'm being honest, I probably wouldn't be doing any hobbies. I would probably be scrolling on my phone or just keep working. I'm feeling very, very low energy today, so I chose coloring to do. It's kind of nice having this video to keep me accountable to making sure that I'm pausing and doing some things that kind of take my mind off life in general, and maybe kind of enter like a meditative flow state. I am going to be coloring on one of my kids' books, Baby Animals, and I chose the duck one. So yeah, I'm just gonna color. I'm gonna eat my soup, my lentil soup, and kind of zone out, I guess. It's been tough to get hobbies in every single day other than reading. I do read most days, so that isn't something necessarily challenging for me. But it felt like kind of a cop-out to just choose reading every day. I would say during some of my low energy days, that is the easier task to do. And I kind of just wanted to give in and say, I'm gonna do it anyway. But here I am. I wanted to at least, prove to myself that I can show up for myself. I did take a sewing class this week, which was 5 hours of doing a craft or a hobby. And it took a lot of coordination from my husband and my family to be able to just go for the day, especially because, like I said, we had some family birthdays. And so I really had to rely on my parents and my husband to take care of all the decorating and all the food and things like that, which, I really, really appreciate. And I have that luxury. I mean, that's one of the reasons we moved back here. Scheduling those things is tough. I scheduled it months ago, not knowing that we were going to have this birthday party at this time, but with spring breaks and everything, it was the best weekend, and I almost canceled, but my husband was like, no, you need to go do this for yourself. Like, you've been talking about this class for 2 years. I did sign up in October, but they had canceled it because of a snowstorm and I couldn't make the makeup. So yeah, it was fun. It took a lot of coordination though. I'm kind of reevaluating my goal of trying to do hobbies every day. Certainly, I think some of my hobbies, like sewing, you need hours at a time to do well. I might just look at it at like a whole week view. But it was an interesting exercise, and like I said, I'm happy to have done it. And I definitely needed this push to do something for me and make sure that I schedule this kind of time for myself. All right, I think my soup is probably cool enough, so I'm just gonna color and eat my soup, and I'll talk to you guys another time.